Welcome, Ultras and Switchy sisters alike, to episode 25 of the weekly episodic gaming edition livestream podcast show. This is Switch to Ultra, back on Mondays until the end of time, for the first time ever reporting live from the Crown City. And I welcome you to the Switch to Ultra family. I'm your co-parent, BH Ultra.
And I am your co-parent, Switchy.
And we've decided today, how do I get out of here? I just turned my eyes off. See, this is the issue I didn't want to run into. Oh, this is it. There we go. Decided to roam around the open road and return to Mario Kart World because I feel like not only is this the first Switch to Ultra episode of autumn, and thus the summer is both began and tail-ended by the release of Mario Kart World. I mean, this was the launch title for the Nintendo Switch 2, but I feel like enough time has passed. Not only are we now on the outskirts of the, I imagine, final major Nintendo Direct of the year. I mean, we know there's going to be a Kirby Air Riders Direct. That might be the only Direct. There could be a fully dedicated Metroid one. I don't know. I'm going to assume that Kirby Air Riders is the last one. And we have some additional Air Riders information, but as far as this week goes, if we rarely want to encapsulate what has transpired between the previous episode of Switch 2 Ultra and this episode of Switch 2 Ultra, the previous one was actually a special earlier one that we did right immediately following the September Nintendo Direct, where we learned that we were getting paid DLC for Pokemon Legends ZA, and paid DLC for Donkey Kong Bonanza, but no updates for Mario Kart Worlds, leading some to believe that this game has, quote-unquote, died. Nintendo has forgotten about Mario Kart. And also, we've been getting, I don't want to say aggressive, because again, I think the tribalism is all in good fun, but getting some jokey ads over at Sega, advertising the upcoming Sonic Racing game, Sonic Racing Cross Worlds, by invoking the name of the previous console wars of Genesis versus Nintendo, and using and referencing those previous ads in their new ad, and derogatorily referring to Mario Kart World as, I guess, boring and slow. And I think that as far as the Switch 2 goes, Bonanza is the game. Like, that's the one that's really worth getting the Switch 2 for. I think it's probably my game of the year, potentially. But where I'm at right now, I mean, again, like I said, the gap between the week that transpired between the previous episode and this episode, not only are we about to release Sonic Racing Cross Worlds, some people who paid extra have already had access to the game. We now know for sure that there's not going to be any more Mario Kart World updates throughout the year. I mean, almost assuredly. And also, between the weeks, or just the week in general, I have been playing the EA Games Skate Open Beta, and I've talked about Skate 3 before in the past. I can get more into it now. But driving around, roaming around this world, I keep seeing railings, and it just makes me want to play Skate Open Beta even more. Let me ask you, Switchy, have your feelings changed about Mario Kart World at all? Do you play Mario Kart World at all following?
Not particularly that much. I mean, I think I'll bust it out, you know, when I got some people together.
Mm-hmm.
By the way, it is hilarious. This entire line of NPCs that have kind of
yeah, it's because we parked here.
piled up. Yeah, we're just.
I guess I can get one of these many
assholes.
sticker spots. See, that's the thing with this game, is that I've heard, when it comes to unlocks or complaints, I'm taking a picture. It's been a lot of, I have heard, rather, just people don't care about the P-switches and the stickers, and that's fine, that's all well and good. I love roaming around an area and collecting everything. I just haven't had the incentive to play this in comparison to other games that have come out this year that I want to play. Obviously, this is no Donkey Kong Bonanza. Would you agree in the idea that I would say Bonanza is probably the best Switch 2 exclusive, like out of Nintendo's crop over the summer? I guess we can cover the summer of the summer that the Switch 2 released, if you have any strong feelings.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think the main games, for most people, it's going to be between Mario Kart World and Bonanza.
Yes.
And for me, it's pretty cleanly Bonanza. I mean, to be fair, I think for what it's worth, I mean, we're kind of comparing like a big adventure game, single player experience to a game that's meant to be multiplayer. Mm-hmm. So it's sometimes hard to I don't know. I think I get more out of the adventure games than I do, a game like Mario Kart World. But I don't know. I think Bonanza, I 100% a Bonanza. Okay.
Yes.
So I haven't 100%ed Mario Kart World.
No.
And like, part of me isn't that motivated to. And I don't dislike the challenges, all things considered, but I haven't really. I don't know. I mean, the free roam doesn't do much for me, especially because they kind of make it difficult to keep track of what you got, what you have to do, what you've done so far.
Yeah.
And I think that alone really is a limiting factor on, my motivation to play it. There's just really, I don't know. I guess the idea is that you just explore the world, sort of, and just do what comes up. But I don't know. I don't know if I don't know that's really for me. All things considered.
I think for me it's the dissonance between the map. Like when you open up the map and when you see the map on the mini map, they're two entirely different maps. Like you can't zoom in on this map and see, like it tells us we're in Crown City, but it doesn't say where in Crown City, because this is a big city.
Oh, yeah, you're right. I noticed that.
Okay, I thought you were shocked by that.
I was opening the map and I didn't really realize that was a thing. But yeah, you're right.
Because you could teleport to any of these many maps around the world. I will say I don't have an issue with the intermissions and the tracks they picked. I've had fun with them. I mean, at the baseline, it is a Mario Kart game. And I was about to say, like, oh, a bad Mario Kart game, which I don't even think it is a bad Mario Kart game. I don't think this is the worst Mario Kart game. A bad Mario Kart game is like a bad Pokemon game. But then I want to rescind that a little bit, because a bad Pokemon game just straight up doesn't work sometimes. My initial premise of that was saying, like, oh, well, a game series that is by its default fun. I said like a bad Mario Party game, right? Like even the worst Mario Party games are still fun because they're Mario Party. I would say the ones that people think aren't fun are the ones that aren't really Mario Party. They try and do something else. In all honesty, I didn't dislike Mario Kart 9. I think that was the last one they released on the Wii, the one in the car. That's a fun little side mode. The only issue with that is that it wasn't a side mode. That was the only option you had. I have no issue. If they launched Mario Kart 9 as a normal Mario Kart and they're like, oh, we also have this car mode where you're together in a car. Ow. I think people would respond to it better. But my point being that, like, even a bad Mario Kart... I don't think this game is bad.
No, definitely not. But for what it's worth, I think that a lot of resources that historically were put into what I assume would be tracks, alternate game modes, and just stuff like that, I think were instead put into the open world and the intermission system. And I think those things, all things considered, are controversial. I mean, the open world is only controversial in as much as, there's a lot of build up to it and there's a lot of hype around it, but all things considered, I don't know if it's really done that much for me. I mean, I guess I haven't gotten much out of the free roam. Like, I don't free roam for the sake of free roaming. Usually when I've played this game, I've just been working on Grand Prix and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's what I prefer. And I guess that's I don't mind the intermission issue as much. I guess we can get into what I wanted to say real quick. I actually forgot what it was. Oh, about hype. You mentioned hype. And I do think that it is sort of a side effect of games ballooning in both scale and budget in the modern era, that, like, say like a 3D Zelda game, we would get them every 2-3 years, and they would be entirely different experiences. That because
crazy to think about.
For better or for worse, I see what you're doing. For better or for worse, the appeal of the Switch 2. Because the Switch is at least a gimmick, right? I think I don't have an issue with the idea of a Switch 2, just a more powerful Switch, because I really like the Switch. I've always been more of a Nintendo handheld guy anyway. And Nintendo, for better or for worse, has always been about their gimmicks. I mean, they gimmicked the fuck out of the Virtual Boy, like, again. And some were disappointed that the newest Nintendo console that will likely take us the next 7 years, the new console generation, is just more Switch. So for better or for worse, the appeal of the Switch 2, like, we have a camera and we have mouse modes, right? I was hoping when a Nintendo console comes around that they're more focused on those goofy modes that no one else would think about. That the appeal of the Switch 2 is that it's a more powerful Switch and it can run modern games. But I think the pursuit, and this isn't specifically a Nintendo thing, the pursuit of graphical fidelity in 4K and games looking the best they can has made it so games in general take longer to come out. So the hype around this game is not just the hype of a new Mario Kart or a new Mario Kart on a new console, because we haven't gotten a new Mario Kart since 2014. We've been playing Mario Kart 8 since the Wii U.
Yeah.
So I think there's a lot of weight that rests on this game's shoulders that isn't necessarily warranted, but that's just the way, like, time works. That it had to live up to a lot because we were just playing 8 Deluxe for a while. And 8 Deluxe and the other Mario sports games that released for the original Switch, I do think raise a lot of questions about why they haven't been updating this game. Now, granted, our skew of time is a little thrown off. I think people are getting a little bit too peckish when it comes to updates like that. Like, oh man, Nintendo has really forgotten about Mario Kart World. It came out in June. That was, I guess, 3 months ago. A little over 3 months ago. I don't know at what point we would expect updates. Granted, we already have paid DLC. Have you played the Emerald DLC for Donkey Kong Bonanza? Because I at least
Dude,
want to,
I
like...
haven't.
I haven't either, but also I want to complete the main game first.
I heard information about it. Sorry, I don't know if I just I was having some audio glitches.
You're good.
I don't know if like immediately when I heard that there are no bananas on the Donkey Kong Island, like I was not interested, or at the very least there was enough negative pushback against it that I didn't buy. I didn't get it.
Mm-hmm.
Because it seems beyond the pale. I don't know how fun the Emerald minigame is, but I don't know. It just seems it's a decision being made that really just seems a little beyond the pale, I think. I mean, it's analogous to if like Mario Odyssey charged $20 for you to go back to the Mushroom Kingdom, and also made you pay money for Luigi's Balloon World.
Do you subscribe
You know
to
what
the
I mean?
theory that that was intended to be post-game and then they purposefully held it off to be a DLC? Because I don't know if I believe that per se.
I've never heard that, but
It just feels like post-game. I mean, granted, I haven't finished Bonanza. Well, I mean, I've gotten to the end of Bonanza. I haven't, like, 100%ed it yet. I haven't gotten past that reveal quite yet. I just wanted to get there. The reason I ran to the Forbidden Lair to see the big reveal that I was already spoiled on is because I went into this Nintendo Direct, the September one, with the assumption, and maybe, again, we're talking about hype, maybe I allowed everyone to get me excited for something that may not happen. Because I thought them, like, adding a free update to Mario Kart World was not... Like, that's not out of the realm of possibility. I thought it was a realistic assertion that a couple months later they would add an update to it, roll out some characters. I don't think it needs to be paid DLC. I don't know. I think if they're adding multiple tracks, then maybe. But I think costumes and characters should be free updates. Because when you're in a game like Smash Bros., you cannot add free characters after release because the characters are the game. Like, you could add a free stage, that makes sense. But the gameplay is the characters. Whereas, I mean, you were telling me earlier the reason you picked this combo. I have my Rob and Dry Bones for emotional reasons. Is that you said apparently the B card is statistically the best one in the game. Yeah, somewhere.
It's just seen as, like, the most effective for most. I think I just had it selected because I was like trying to join the world.
Yeah, and I know there's different weight classes in this game, but I think it's switched when it comes to Mario Kart, right? Like, in Smash Bros., I can imagine a paid character and a free stage. Whereas in Mario Kart, I imagine a paid course and a free character. Because the characters are just alternate skins. Like, basically, justified alternate skins.
To be fair,
they have
I mean,
different weights, but...
I'd have to look back into what they did for 4. But in Smash Ultimate, at least, the stages were, I think, pretty much... I think they were sold with the characters. So you would have, like, you buy Hero along with the Dragon Quest stage. But I'm pretty sure there were a couple free...
yeah, like small battlefields.
Well, for Smash 4, there was, like, the Miiverse stage and stuff. I don't think that was attached to any DLC character.
I think there was also a Mario Maker stage.
Yeah.
Yeah. So as far as the Mario sports games that released on the Switch 1, however you feel about Mario Tennis Aces or Mario Golf Super Rush or Mario Strikers, I think the prevailing opinion was that these games were purposefully missing content and then were drip-fed later down the line to artificially increase players. And I know that there is an argument to be had about the full game not being on the disc, and in years' time, that the game will be unfinished for those that do not have access to the internet, right? We've seen it happen with certain 3DS and Wii U games. However, if we're gonna live in this age of games anyway, I don't necessarily mind a Mario sports game slowly rolling out characters, because I think I streamed Mario Strikers Battle League multiple times, like at least 4 times. And that's because they kept updating the game. And honestly, if they didn't update it like that, they're like, oh, we're adding Diddy Kong and Daisy. I know that those characters should have been in a base game, but I don't honestly know if I would have streamed the game or played the game that many times if they didn't roll out the characters like that. So my thing is, as long as the updates are free, I don't think I really mind it. My issue is when it's held off as paid DLC specifically. And I, like many, I think kind of got attached to the idea of Mario Kart World updating along with all the major Switch 2 releases, right? So like, oh, Donkey Kong Bonanza has been out for a little bit. Spoilers for Bonanza, but I think we know that the voice actors for King K. Rool and Void Kong, are in the credits of Mario Kart World, but like not credited as anything, or they're not tied to any characters in the game. And also, Donkey Kong and Pauline each have one alternate costume. So the idea is that the game would update with Bonanza stuff. And maybe it is just Bonanza, or maybe every major, like, we have a new Yoshi game coming out, and a new Mario Tennis game, another Mario Tennis game coming out. Maybe those would add additional costumes or additional characters, so on and so forth. I think the idea of all the tertiary Mario enemies, so we should seek cover, it's raining. Tertiary Mario enemies, and then you could slowly add more characters. I don't think drip feeding characters when they're free as just like general updates, I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. And I don't think artificially increasing the people that play the game is a bad thing. Because if we're trying to compare games to the way gaming used to be, you would buy a game, and then when you were done with it, you would more or less stop playing it. And now the reason people are saying, man, Mario Kart World fell off, Nintendo forgot about Mario Kart World, this game is dead, is because it doesn't have an active player base. And that's normally an argument people use for Steam games. Like, you can track the active player base and see how many active players there are. But that's only really an argument for, like, free-to-start, live service, online exclusive games. I don't mean to imply that the online is an important aspect of Mario Kart, but I don't think saying that, like, man, nobody's playing this game that came out in June anymore is necessarily a good argument, because it's been a couple months. People who wanted to play it have played it.
Well, have you considered that a truly good game would have everybody playing it as much as they played it the day it came out forever for the rest of eternity?
Has that ever happened?
I don't think so. Unless you consider, like, games that, like, a small release and then got bigger. But,
you know what? You're probably right. I bet No Man's Sky has, like... Well, no, there are a lot of people that bought it at release.
Well, like, for example, Minecraft, I assume, like, the most times a single... I don't know if they have records on it, because I'm not sure how much telemetry they keep, but I assume that the most time, or the highest number of concurrent users playing Minecraft, for example, was probably maybe the last 5 years, but not when it officially got its 1.0 release, you know? Yeah. But, like, the point to being made is that I think that the way we see video games as a service, as opposed to just, like, individual kind of, like, installments, has changed. And I think that's one reason why Mario Kart 8 Deluxe was the newest game for, like, or Mario Kart 8 was the newest game for a decade, was because they added stuff to that game multiple times over those years. I mean, they added characters for DLC for the original Mario Kart 8, then they made the deluxe version. They added the deluxe version had some new characters, but then they added DLC to the deluxe version. Yeah. And
I think even the Wii U version had its own DLC as well. Like, even
it did. That's when Isabelle came in. That's when Link came in.
Yeah.
Fun fact, that's when I, like, really found out that I was a furry. But anyway.
That's fun.
But
it's Nintendo's fault.
Right.
The CEO of Nintendo has to go testify in front of Congress now.
Yeah. But with that, I think a lot of games nowadays have this pressure, especially big games. And to be fair, I mean, it's not like Nintendo has been playing into this precedent of, oh, there's more even after the game initially comes out. I mean, most of the biggest Nintendo games of the last, of the Switch era at the very least, or at least a good number of them, had DLC. I mean, pretty sure Breath of the Wild had DLC, right?
Yes.
Am I going crazy?
No,
Yeah,
you
there was
did.
DLC. I mean, at least a good amount of the games had like expanded DLC later on. And that's a thing Nintendo kind of, I don't want to say is expected, but they kind of are expected, or at the very least, there's always going to be constituency with the new popular game of, oh, is there going to be more?
Yeah.
Because I guess Mario Odyssey didn't have more unless you count the Luigi's Balloon World, but a lot of the games that have come out, a lot of the big ones, they've all had, expansion passes with an extra little story, usually like $20,
Yeah.
To the point where I kind of like fell out of keeping track to them. I never played the Scarlet and Violet DLC, for example. So I think with all of that, I was expecting this game. I was expecting that, like, some of the things that I was a little bummed about with this game to be kind of ironed out. I was a little bummed that Diddy's not in it. I was a little bummed that a few other characters weren't in it. And I'm curious. I mean, I guess, to be fair, it is early to say that, oh, they're not going to add anything to this game. But it does, I would have expected it to have happened by now.
Interesting. I don't know. I mean, I think... I don't think that them not updating it... No, I don't know. Because I don't want to say for sure that it can't happen, because there's a lot of stuff pointing to it might happen. But you're right. Like, I feel like it would have... I think the year is a little back-weighted a little bit. Or, yeah, I guess it would be back-weighted. That I think we overhyped the entire thing. And I don't want to defend the game too hard, but both the idea, or both, like, the series of Mario Kart games and a console's launch, I don't know if we have collective amnesia, but I constantly see people being like, this has got to be one of the worst launches for a console, for a Nintendo console. But if you look back on, like, all the day one launches, it is normally, like, 2 games. And only one of them are really worth playing.
Oh, yeah.
I think the first...
Flash
I think
Fusion.
the Switch had... Oh, yeah, Flash Fusion, Survival Kids, Dear Me, I Was, that one Campfire game. That... I think the year one of the Switch was pretty good. I think it was in comparison to the Wii U, it was good, right? We got Odyssey, and we got Breath of the Wild, and we got the new IP in ARMS. That I think the Nintendo Switch 2 not being different enough, and I think that is what kind of carries through this year of the Nintendo releases, is that when we're looking at a big list of Nintendo Switch 2 exclusives, right? We have Mario Kart World and Donkey Kong Bonanza and Nintendo Switch 2 Welcome Tour, and then a handful of other games that are also there. But I feel like Nintendo internally, they view the launch as those games, and then also, dude, Breath of the Wild Switch 2 Edition, Tears of the Kingdom Switch 2 Edition, Kirby and the Forgotten Land Switch 2 Edition. Like, I think they view these as releases that would sell a Switch 2, right? Or just, like, to bolster a library. Where for most people, it's just more Switch 1 stuff. I think the biggest issue with the Switch 2 is that it isn't different enough. But again, we're only in year 1, and we've only had really 2 major releases that could constitute as the technical 3D Mario game and the technical Mario Kart game. I don't think it's impossible that we get a 3D Mario game, like, starring Mario at some point in the console's lifespan. But I think the assertion that the first 3 months of the console's launch have been lackluster are sort of forgetting previous consoles launches. This is not even, like, bottom 3 Nintendo console launches, I don't think.
Yeah, no, I think people are very short-sighted. I mean, I saw people saying that the Direct on the 12th was, like, the worst one ever.
The worst Direct ever. They weren't watching.
It's like you would have died in 2014.
Dude, I remember I was on vacation and I watched that, like, one Star Fox puppet one where, like, Reggie and Miyamoto and Iwata, they were all puppets, and then they transformed into, like, the furry Star Fox game. They announced, like, Star Fox Zero and Skylanders Superchargers. That's all I remember. It was, like, 2014, 2013. And I remember at the time I was like, whoa, that's awesome. Because I was just getting into watching Directs for the first time. Because up until that point, I wasn't... Like, I was just playing the games. I didn't know about the whole React culture. I watched I've been watching a lot more Smash videos about people analyzing Smash Ultimate and what they want from the future of Smash. And I did see one person saying that the Smash community, quote unquote, got like toxic and people cared too much about the release, or rather the trailers, the reveal trailers, than actually playing the game. And I do think there is something there, that people that just kind of like watching the reveal trailers and don't actually play Smash Ultimate. However, I do think the hype is part of it. The hype is fun to engage with. I don't really believe anyone who says that like a fan base is toxic, because maybe I sort of have a disconnect with online. I don't want to sound like one of those people that's like, oh, you're getting cyberbullied, just turn off your computer. Because it isn't that simple. But I do really think that if there are certain fandoms that are toxic, I don't think that really affects the game at all. I don't think people really not wanting a character or really want... If you say you want a character in the game and then a bunch of people online are like, you're stupid for wanting this character, and you let it get to you, I think that has more to do with you than it does, like, the fan base.
Well, I'm going to actually push back against that, and it's not necessarily... The reason I kind of agree with that kind of premise, the idea, for example, that a negative experience with the community surrounding, like, a TV show or a game or whatever can affect your enjoyment of that, I actually can relate to that, even if it's... I think, for example, I just off the top of my head... I think Danganronpa, for example, because I was a teenager when I first played those games, and a lot of my friends who I talked about the game a lot with were kind of shitty people, and I have a lot of, bad teenager memories of those games. And because of that, I think that there's like a certain part of me that sort of shudders when I think about the games. And I feel like although I have a sort of weird relationship with the series because I've had like some, I don't know, bad experiences with other people kind of exploring the game, I don't think that really reflects on the game itself, but I still think that it's, I don't know, there's a weird relationship I have with it.
Yeah, I'm like that with certain things, not to sound like, I guess, like an internet hipster, but like whenever something is constantly hyped up and say like, oh, this is the best thing ever, it sort of makes me not want to watch it. It took me a while to, like, I got into Breaking Bad in like 2020, 2021, and I went into it initially like, because my friends were showing it to me, and I was, because we were about to go to a convention, but then it got shut down due to COVID, so we were just all staying together, and we're like, all right, fine, we'll watch it. Oh, this is the best show ever. And then I was watching it, I'm like, oh no, this is a good show actually. It's the same thing with like, my mom and sisters are really into The Office and talk about it all the time and constantly put it on the TV. And partially because of that, and because of just, like, the way it's discussed online, I haven't watched a full episode. I just have no desire to do so. And I don't think that, like, shapes an opinion. Like, I think that those shows are bad because of it. But I will say, if a show is pitched to me constantly, it makes me not want to watch it. And I think part of that is that, like, in my teenagers, I was constantly around people that, like, were very much in the anime hype sphere. They're like, oh, this shit is peak fiction, you gotta check this out. Not just, like, into anime, but being like, oh, this is the best thing ever, like, this author's a genius. So would constantly recommend me shows, and then I'll be like, alright, I'll watch them. And they were all, like, dog shit. And just, like, stuff I didn't like in general. I think that's also to be said. I think I was conditioned a little bit. Because I think the only Fire Emblem game I played was on the Game Boy Advance. That I will say that there is sort of like, I don't dislike Fire Emblem inherently, but I'm not going to pretend to care when they announce one. Because, I mean, maybe I will play the new one, whatever it's called, but that, for me, is a lackluster direct ending announcement. And there has since, after the September Direct, been quite a lot of discourse around the reveal of that Fire Emblem game and how Nintendo tubers react. I think that I have an adverse reaction to when people take things that aren't seriously, and it sort of makes me not root against them, but not side with them. Like, when it comes to Fire Emblem specifically, if you're a Fire Emblem fan and you see people online constantly being like, oh, who gives a shit about this series, I can understand why that would weigh on you after a certain point. But if you're a Fire Emblem fan and you see a couple reactions of people saying, like, oh, I don't like this game, and then you imply they're xenophobic or say, like, oh, this is the white Nintendo tuber brain, like, there's something wrong with these people, then I'm gonna inherently, like, root against you. Like, that, okay, I'm gonna circle back to what I said, because actually that does make me not kind of want to play the game a little bit, if people are gonna act like that. Similarly, I don't know a whole lot about Undertale, but I think the other big story that happened between the episodes of Switch 2 Ultra is that there was a 10th anniversary stream where the creator of the game, Toby Fox, played through the game, and it had a lot of secret modifications that people were, like, spotting while they were watching the stream, and just telling its own story. But he was allowing a donation incentive, or maybe just a vote incentive, for them to pick who the playable character was. And the two top runners were Chara, or Kara, that was like a lore-based character that's been around in Undertale since 2015. And the other front runner was a character named Togor, which is an entirely made-up character. It was like someone's OC from back in the day that has since become a meme.
I'm not even remembering. I thought it was like a fan name for Chris or something.
Well, sort of. I mean, people reinvented it.
I feel so old.
Well,
I'm out of the loop on this shit.
I mean, yeah, I never, like, I've been getting more into Deltarune this year, and maybe I will go back to play Undertale, but I did kind of miss the boat on that when I was younger. But, like, yeah, like, Togor in general is just a giant meme and a giant joke, but, you know, it's a fun joke. Jokes are fun. And then I saw a lot of people, because everyone was like, oh, saying, vote for Togor, vote for Chara. I saw a bunch of posts of people saying, like, guys, seriously, don't vote for Togor. This is the celebration, the 10-year anniversary of Undertale. Do you really want to ruin it with a joke character and not, like, a beloved lore character that we can get acknowledgement of? It's like, man, the stream is all in good fun. Like, I think you're... I don't want to, like, I'm not as big of a fan of the game, so I don't want to say, like, oh, you care about this thing? Blah, cringe. Because, you know, that shit I care about. I don't think there's anything wrong with caring about the game. But the idea that having a joke name for the playable character would somehow ruin the 10th anniversary is, I think, a little misguided, and, like, come on, man. Like, it's just in good fun. And that's my thing with, like, discussion of games. Like, I think it's all harmless. I think if there's people out there that hate the game series I like, that's not going to stop me from enjoying it. I think there are a lot of things. I mean, I've had a lot of hot takes on the internet about video games, and it's just a matter of if you want to let people... Let what people say about it affect you specifically. It's all...
Although I would be lying if I said that I've never let the way people talk about games I like affect me specifically.
Sure. I'm trying to think of, like, a game I really like that people didn't. And I don't... I guess it's, like, for me, it's been less about, like, oh, this thing is secretly really good, and been more like, oh, this thing is not that bad, come on. We're not doing the tier list, the ranking, my consumption list today, but we didn't do it last week because I was busy editing and I didn't... Oh, no, the Direct was on Friday, so I ended up seeing a movie on Friday. But I saw the movie Him, this Friday, or I guess a couple days ago Friday. And I don't know if you know anything about that movie. It was marketed as being produced by Jordan Peele, so some people were saying, like, oh, they tricked us into thinking it was a Jordan Peele movie. And then reviews were coming out about the movie, and it was like a point, or like a 5 on IMDb, and like a 30% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Oh,
and then I went to go see it, and I'm like, yeah, that was fine. Like, I wouldn't, like, say, like, oh, you guys have to see this movie. It's fantastic. It's a sleeper hit. But I walked out of the theater. I'm like, yeah, it's a good movie. It was okay. I think a 30% is crazy. Like, I don't think people see enough bad movies if they think that's a 30%.
Oh, yeah. You know, honestly, one thing that's absolutely true is that critic evaluations en masse of just anything usually has a lot more to do with disappointment than, like, I think measured actual quality. Or, I mean, a lot that stuff is really subjective anyway, but, you know, when you look up, like, a lot of the worst movies of all time on sites like Metacritic or whatever, a lot of things, the most common thing you'll see is just, you know, really disliked sequels and stuff like that.
Yeah.
You know
Well,
what
I've
I
said
mean?
this a
That-
lot,
that's
like
that
the newer Marvel fans that are like, "Oh man, it fell off." The Marvels and Ant-Man Quantumania are the worst MCU movies. Like, man, you weren't in the theater watching Thor 2 in 2013
Dude,
like I was. That movie sucks. That's the worst one for sure.
Thor: The Dark World like
Yeah.
bored me so much. I kind of got angry watching it. Straight up. Like when I was like 17 when I first watched it, and I was just, or I mean, 16, but whatever. I was like so just like miserable, just like, oh my god, do I have to finish this shit? Same goes. I don't like the whole movie either.
The new Hulk movie or the 2008 Hulk movie?
The 2008 Hulk movie.
Yeah. I haven't seen it, but yeah, I heard bad things. I don't know if that's was that the Ang Lee one? Or was the Ang Lee one before that?
I don't know, but this is
Okay.
the one that had Edward Norton in it.
Yeah. And then they recast him.
Mark Ruffalo.
But no, yeah, no, I would agree. I do think that a lot of people are like, oh, this is the worst thing ever. It really just does come from disappointment. And
I mean, like, the game that I probably harbor the most ill will towards in my personal life is probably like Paper Mario Sticker Star. And
Oh,
wouldn't you
that
know,
sucks.
that's like a sequel of a game that I think was like competently made by like competent game producers, but it goes against
Yeah.
the spirit of what I like in Paper Mario so much that I just remember being so just like miserable when it came out.
Well, I would
And,
say that like one of the worst things you could do with any piece of art is make it bland. Like I think I'd rather watch something
Yeah.
or play something that's really bad than something that's really boring. Unless
Yeah.
it being boring is bad. Or it being bad
I
is
guess
boring.
it's just it's interesting to think about because I think you know, a lot I assume, and to be fair, it's not like I've seen the movie. I assume the reason the movie you're talking about him has such a low rating is that it was marketed a certain way to be like sort of a Jordan Peele movie,
Yeah.
and maybe just didn't like scratch that itch, so people were just really mad about it. That's what I assume happened.
Could-
And you know, I guess I've seen that kind of pattern before. You know, like I mean, you can see it with YouTube videos too. You know, I think that I think the amount of care and like professional effort I put into my videos doesn't always correlate with like the like dislike ratio. You want to know the best way to get like the highest like ratio possible?
What is it?
You be agreeable.
Yeah.
You tell people things they want to hear. I mean,
Well, the
for
most
example,
viewed videos are like the Mr. Beast edited style like YouTube shorts that are just recounting facts.
Yeah. I mean, for example, like just going off of my own experience, I think that just on the basis of talking about something more negatively, I think my All Stars video has a lower like to dislike ratio than my action video. Despite I think the All Stars video being a lot more thoroughly
Negative.
edited, written, and stuff like that. But I think just because there's an element of that video where I'm critiquing the game, the series, as opposed to just kind of being, oh yeah, this is cool, I like action, action's fun, because that's what most of the action video is. Because I think I think what comes with that is that in general, if you say that you like a movie that I hate, I don't really have a problem with it. But I think there is a large amount of people, and I think a lot of people, I think even I would probably have this, you know, instinct sometimes, that if someone says that, you know, something I like sucks, there's a part of me that feels kind of challenged, or as if my enjoyment is seen as illegitimate or whatever. I think
Yeah.
there's like a certain kind of possessiveness people have of, you know, TV shows or anything they like. And that's where, you know, a lot of the negativity comes from.
We were talking about this last night when we were watching stuff with some new people in the server, that I think that potentially online, specifically amongst like cartoon reviewers or just like any sort of art critic, that because there were people that were overwhelmingly negative, and this is an idea I've brought up before, that I think a lot of people who maybe can't understand, and I'm not saying this to be like mean or derogatory, but maybe people who can't fully understand what is and isn't real on the internet, took a lot of cards and were heavily inspired by like the nostalgia critic or the angry video game nerd. And they see them do these bombastic, over-the-top hate rants about like a cartoon or a video game. but that is the character they are playing. Like, I don't think either Doug nor James would be like, no, I think the creator of this game needs to be shit, like, that we need to shit on his face. Like, the idea is that it is an over-hyperbolic reaction to something that really doesn't matter. But I do think there are a lot of, like, nostalgia critic light cartoon reviewers, specifically in the early 2010s, that saw that and they're like, oh, this is what I should do, and then they would, like, review My Little Pony or SpongeBob and be like, dox this writer, this person needs to die, this show is a crime against humanity and it needs to be removed forever. Where I think that, for me, especially with cartoons, because it's so hard for animators and just writers in general to find work in the industry now, that I would rather bad art be made than no art at all. So I think some people, when they engage with what I've said about certain games or certain shows, that if it's something I don't like, they think that I mean, oh, this thing should not exist. No one else should play this thing. When that's not what I'm getting at. I'm glad all of these things exist. I just don't derive the same enjoyment out of it. So I can understand if you really like a movie or a game and somebody's like, oh, I don't like that thing, and your immediate response is like, oh, well, you want it to die, you want it to go away, you wish it wasn't invented. Like, no, I don't think there's a single show or movie that I wish, like, never existed. You know, even the ones that I hate, like, it's hyperbolic. We're playing characters when we're doing these reviews. And I think that we can gain a lot from having stuff that is bad sometimes. And I do think that's why people, when they're seeing disappointing movies and giving it a 30%, I think, like, man, you guys really don't watch enough bad movies if you think this is bad as it gets.
No, absolutely. And that's, I mean, to be fair, I think that's also why a lot of, you know, the really lowest rated stuff is so skewed, is kind of, usually tends to be from well-liked or popular kind of franchises, because, you know, you're at, like if a movie fucking sucks, pardon my French, but it's not really, doesn't have, like, that many notable, you know, cast members, or isn't part of, like, any sort of, you know, big body of work that's gets a lot of attention and stuff.
Yeah.
You're probably just not going to hear about it. And I think you just, and because of that, I think the stuff that really sucks you just don't hear about, and the stuff that people that is known for sucking is stuff that people were willing to give a chance, even though, you know, by all, like they probably weren't recommended for it, or at least it had their attention before they'd seen it.
Right.
And that's usually because it was part of some sort of beloved, you know, it's a piece of something you love that you hate, I guess. I don't think actually, I'm not going to use this example because I'm not a Star Wars fan.
Yeah.
But for example, one of the most hated albums of all time is an album called Saint Anger by Metallica.
Okay.
And it's fun because I like talking to, like, Gen Xers I know, and the way they talk about Metallica is so interesting and fun to listen to, because it's like what I grew up knowing as, like, 90s kid shit. It's funny seeing people be like, oh yeah, Metallica fell off after the 4th album and everything else is shit. Like, I know a guy who told me a story that he got, like, the new Metallica CD and he, like, threw it out of his car and stuff like that.
Just Scott the Woz bit.
Yeah, Metallica has, you know, a pretty infamous discography. I mean, there's, like, a few albums that, you know, are super beloved, and there's a lot of music that does not have the same kind of reputation, and Saint Anger is infamous. And it came out, I think, in the early 2000s. It was a different kind of sound, blah 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 blah, and when it came out, it was, you know, one of the most, like, critically panned albums on you know, just online at the very least, but in a lot of music communities. And the only reason it got such a bad reputation is because it was Metallica making it. It was just kind of like a local band or whatever. No one would give a shit.
Right.
And I guess that's the point I'm making, is that it's like, oh, okay, this is just like kind of a crappy out. Like you wouldn't, like, no one would be that bothered unless, you know, they already loved some of the earlier Metallica stuff. and they really felt, you know, they feel attached enough to it, you know?
Yes.
I mean, well, actually, you know, another example, the later Total Drama seasons, Pahkitew Island and All Stars. If that was the only Total Drama that existed, I wouldn't like feel the need to talk about it so much, because it would just be another kind of stupid show. You know? There's a reason I talk about Total Drama and not Almost Naked Animals. You know, it's like
Yes.
the kind of like butt TV shows from that era.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's usually that's what garners the most hatred, is when, you know, something people like, you know, goes in a direction they don't want it to.
Yeah, I think the same thing comes up, and I don't want anyone to read this as me like having a strong stance or like a strong opinion about it, because I'm still glad it exists. We've been waiting for it for a while, and I don't dislike it, but again, like more internet friends like showed up in the server when we were watching stuff. And one of them asked me how I feel about the new Gumball season, because we were like watching all the cartoons. We watch a new episode a week. And I said that, like, it's fine. Like, it's fine Gumball TV. Like, whereas the, for better or for worse, Futurama, Clone High, King of the Hill, Phineas and Ferb reboots felt like the show coming back in the future. And the Gumball, the new season of Gumball, just feels like a new season of Gumball. And it has good episodes, and episodes I really like, and maybe the better ones are in the back of the season. And I've enjoyed my time with it. But for someone who I'm like a fan of Gumball, it's not a show that I'm like, oh, I have to talk about this, or I have very strong feelings about. Like, I like Gumball, but I like it when it's on my TV. I don't want to say in the background, because I think people relegating, like, even YouTube videos to background noise is sort of a... I don't even think it's a compliment. I was going to say backhanded compliment, but I don't know if I would view it. I imagine you get the same comments where people are like, oh, this is the perfect thing to do while doing this.
I love it when people sleep to my videos. I try to make them extra boring so people have an easier time sleeping to them.
Yeah. Oh, I filmed a thing earlier that, because I was getting... I don't even remember. It was a response to some comment or something. But earlier when we were saying, like, having very strong opinions, like, at least when you go to our channels, although what you do is a little bit more informative and comprehensive than what I do, that when you're going to our channels, you're getting our opinions. Like, I think my issue is that I view the videos as, like, installments of, I guess, quote-unquote, my show. So every video I make is, like, an episode, so I assume everyone watching it already knows me and is just tuning back in. But I failed to realize that, you know, obviously, if somebody sees a video I made and it's about a topic they like, and they see the title and the thumbnail and the whatever of it, and they click on it, and it's not exactly what they want or think, they're going to be like, oh, this is a bad video. But I pride myself on my channel being all of my opinions. Even if you disagree with them, at least when you're coming to me, you know that what I'm saying is what I feel. And you don't have to agree with it, but at least I'm like, I don't want to say taking a stance, because that makes it sound way more serious than it is. It really isn't. But, like, I have things to say that I feel. Like, I'm saying what I feel, instead of just being like, oh, let's analyze this episode, and the analysis is just explaining what happens in the episode.
Yeah, I don't like calling my stuff analysis for that very reason, because I don't really... I don't like to claim some sort of heady or cerebral element to my videos. Like, I don't necessarily know if I don't want to hold myself to that standard if I don't have to, you know?
Yeah. There definitely are a lot of people that are, like, almost ashamed to be making YouTube videos, and they don't want them to be videos. And I think that, I mean, not to toot our horns, but, like, because we grew up so unabashedly on YouTube, that we have a little bit more reverence for just, like, you know, the feeling of making a YouTube video. And I think also because of the videos I grew up watching, or, like, formed me throughout my preteen and my teenagers, that video essays are a relatively, I don't want to say, like, recent thing, because it's been, like, 8 years or so now. But, like, it's mainly been a thing in my late teenagers and, like, adult ages. That is, like, the big thing. But I don't think I make video essays. Like, I think for me, a video essay, because it is an essay, needs to have a thesis that the video is proving. And I would say that maybe one, two, or three, let's say like 2 or 3 of the videos I've made that you guys can watch on the channel are video essays, where I go into the video with a point, with an opinion, and then that video is meant to prove that point or opinion. Whereas everything else, like most of the shows I cover are shows I have not watched before, and I'm writing them an episode at a time without a thesis, and I'm just like, oh, let's just watch the show together, and then I'll do bits while we're watching it. I promise I won't just read out the plot synopsis. I want to give my thoughts on these individual episodes. So when I say that I don't make video essays, it's not because I have any hatred for the term or dislike of video essays. It's actually the opposite, that I really like video essays, and because of that, I think there's a certain gravitas to it, and that's simply not what I make. That doesn't devalue my videos. I just don't... You know, they make YouTube shorts, I make YouTube longs. Like, I think I have made a video essay, but I don't think that's what I make. I make 2014 era review videos that just happen to be pretty long.
That's a good way of putting it, all things considered, the 2014. Because that's kind of what I was watching back then, is just, you know, reviews. I liked watching those, and I think that's kind of what I just, you know, graduated to doing on my own.
Of course.
Yeah. You know, it's interesting you bring up the whole Natter Chamber as a series thing, because, you know, I think I don't know if you've gotten this kind of thing before, but, you know, a lot of other YouTubers will often make the point, or I've had people make the point to me. I don't really seek this criticism out very often anymore, that, you know, a big thing you have to do on YouTube is kind of treat your audience as if they're all new, you know, and every video should stand alone and be kind of something that anyone can kind of pick up for the first time.
Yeah.
And follow immediately. I mean, for example, what was I gonna say? Like, and you know, I understand the criticism, for example, because if someone watches, let's say, your Mako Mermaids video, most of them aren't going to be like, oh wait, I should just watch all of this guy's videos from the first one, the first public video, until I get here, so I kind of keep up. You know what I mean?
Right.
That's not, at the very least, that's a very uncommon kind of viewing pattern.
Yeah.
And I guess I understand why, you know, a common piece of advice is to kind of keep that in mind. And I think it's good to keep that in mind, but I don't know. I mean, if we really just, I guess I dislike hearing that, because if we just take that into consideration or treat it as fact, I feel like YouTube expression, or I don't know, just expression online in general, becomes a lot more homogenized, because I think there is value that can be garnered from, you know, treating the next body of work as if it's, you know, the next brick in a wall that of everything you've worked on so far, you know, built off of everything else. And I don't know, I guess sometimes the things people say you should do often make it seem like just kind of treat what you do as meaning less to you than it actually does. I don't know.
I think there's at least, like, there's probably more, but the way I see it, there's different schools of thought when it comes to, like, making YouTube videos. I mean, if we're gonna equate them to, like, not just being videos, but being something else, and then someone who makes, like, has a channel and makes several videos over time. To me, there are two different schools of thought. There are people that make every YouTube video as a new episode of a show that is them, right? They are the show, and every video is a new episode. And then there are YouTubers that are directors, ostensibly, and every video they make is a different short film. And I don't think either of them are, like, the correct one. It just really is one or the other to me. I have friends and people I'm very close with who I would say that their videos are individual short films, where I would say mine, again, this is like equating more meaning to them being YouTube videos, but for me, it's installments of a show that anyone can jump in at any point. But I, perhaps stubbornly, because I'm incredibly fortunate to not have to chase the algorithm, I guess, and I never wanted to do that, I'm incredibly fortunate and in a very privileged position that I don't have to chase a trend, or, like, I don't have to do an ad read. I think I get that sometimes, where people are like, oh man, thank God there's, like, a YouTuber who doesn't do ad reads. And first of all, I don't do them because I don't get them. This is not a choice I made. And second of all...
do you not have a business email?
I do, but it's all like, oh, here's the code to our game. It comes out in a week if you want to like play it, but it's never like actual brands.
Cause I've gotten like a few like ad agencies, but I've never really taken them. I think just, well, one, because I guess I'm like more sensitive to douchebags than I should be. Like the kind of people saying that I would sell out is like, oh yeah, I don't really want to deal with that. But also a lot of them seem to be from overseas. I don't know if I trust them. I think I've gotten like a couple I think I've gotten a couple offers that probably were legit.
Yeah.
But I've always just kind of, like dipped out.
Well, I don't view it as selling out, but like I don't do ad reads because I don't have to. Whenever I see someone else doing them, I don't think like, oh, this person sold out. I'm like, oh, this person probably needs to like pay their rent, and that's totally fine. Like, I am in a fortunate and privileged position that I do not have to do them. I don't think there's any like moral uprightness to not doing them. But similarly, this was leading to a point. I forget what it was. Well, okay, continue what you were saying.
Well, actually, it reminds me because, one thing I used to do, I used to run a lot of those big Twitter accounts. So I used to run Ancient Memes, for example. And that was a thing. And there actually is some money behind this. But, to be fair, it's all it's questionably legal. I think, if the IRS or some sort of kind of tax organization wanted to kind of bust your chops over it, they'd have a lot of chops to bust.
Right.
But there's a lot of money paid under the table, at least before modern Twitter. I think modern Twitter, the scheme's a little different.
Now you gotta pay for that blue check
Elon
mark.
Twitter, where you have like basically, you have your funny meme account, and people pay you basically to do either direct or indirect advertisements for their product. So you'd have a lot is like, what I would see, for example, is you would get offered money to retweet a tweet, and the tweet is like a picture of like a really cute flower pot or some shit. And it there's like a gimmick to it or whatever that has like a cool design on it, and it's like the person who posted it saying like, oh my god, I want this or whatever. Yeah. And you're like told to retweet it, and in the reply to that post, it has a link to buy it. There's a lot of these kinds of sort of hidden, undisclosed advertisements that a lot of these accounts would make money doing, and I never did that. I think I was just paranoid, potentially about something.
Yeah, that's how I feel too. Is that like I don't want to like do one of these sponsorship reads because what if it turns out to just be totally a scam?
Yeah, like what if I accidentally do something like illegal? Actually, it's funny you bring that up because BetterHelp is really, really controversial.
Yeah.
And there have been YouTubers that have kind of, done BetterHelp sponsors and afterwards, like, had to apologize over it. And I say had to as in, like, they got enough pushback and negative reception from their followers that they felt the need to apologize. Right. Or kind of, I guess, calm it down,
make a statement.
But then I go into other sides of YouTube and it's just like, oh yeah, BetterHelp. One thing I will say though is that in the past I remember saying that I wouldn't want to like do a Raid Shadow Legends sponsorship because as a critic, I don't know if I would be willing to lie and like read a script saying a game has good graphics. Yeah. If it means like because it would compromise my integrity as a reviewer or whatever. But nowadays I'm not as concerned about that because I think if I was like, oh, with great graphics you can join my Raid Shadow Legends clan. Yeah. Everyone, I think the vast majority of people, or at least people with like a brain, will see that and be like, oh, okay, Switchy got like $2,000.
That was my thing too, is that like I would say the average person is like probably more intelligent than advertising, or I would like to think so. That whenever I see I've never seen a YouTuber ad read where I'm like, man, I should really get this product. But I guess there are people out there that like can't discern that they're being sold something, and they'll see like they'll see a YouTuber ad read and be like, oh man, I signed up for this thing because it was in this YouTube video, and now it's a scam. It's like, well, I don't want to burn any bridges for anyone, so the thoughts of Andrew Ultra, of BH Ultra, are solely BH Ultra's own. But, like, I assume all YouTube ad reads are scams. That's why I don't, like, I don't think anyone's like a bad person for getting paid to do an ad read for them, but I don't think it's their responsibility. But, you know, if they're doing a YouTube sponsorship, it's just, I don't know. I don't think advertising works on me at all, really, outside of media, right? Like, if it's a video game or a movie or a TV show, I think a commercial could really sell me on it. But as far as products go, like, I don't know.
I would probably contest you a little bit. You probably are affected a little bit more than you realize.
Sure.
Do you remember that meme where like we're posting memes on Twitter, but it had the steak logo on it?
Yeah.
Like that was like some weird sponsorship shit, and then people were starting to like repost those things saying like, "Hey, what's this? Oh, I must gamble. I must gamble.
Yeah.
I need to gamble on steak." But I don't think I think there are other ways to be influenced by advertising in a way that that isn't as direct and immediate. For example, what car insurance companies can you think of?
Ooh, you know what? I fuck with, well, I don't know which one I have. I don't know if I do have it, but I know of Geico and Progressive because of the ads.
Yeah, those are the two that come up to me.
Yeah.
And there's like a couple others, but I'm like,
no, I agree that like I'm very more
aware
of these. Yeah, I'm more aware of these brands because of it. I'm just saying I don't think I've like bought a product because of an advertisement.
Yeah, but I guess, for example, with things like insurance, when you finally get to the point, or when you get to the point where you have to make that decision, I think a lot of people are more inclined to pick the company whose brand they already know, whose commercials they remember, and stuff like that.
It's weird how much lore there is in Progressive and Geico or State Farm or stuff like that. That I had, my wife is from out of the country, and they don't really have, like, ads for medicine or for insurance because it's just
it's
not
illegal there.
Right, it's not the same outside the States. So I was like, we watched a commercial and like Progressive Flow was in it, and I'm like, oh right, okay. So Progressive Flow is a character that's been around for a decade or so, and she met Sonic the Hedgehog. Like, there's lore within those commercials. She's an iconic character. Been around for. They fucking made a show about the Geico cavemen for like a couple episodes. And they got canceled.
Wow, I didn't know that.
And of course, we all know.
I mean, that always is interesting to me. I mean, there's like a whole, there are like very interesting political discussions that can arise from the existence of advertisements for insurance. That I'm not well read enough to really give a good take on, but there is something truly American about like massively recognizable insurance mascots.
Yeah.
Like, oh yeah, I love the Geico gecko.
Well, dude, like, I've been I was rewatching Community, and they have all the episodes on Peacock, but I'm using someone else's Peacock with ads, and like every 5 minutes it plays the same ad that's about like psoriasis medication, but it's like a karaoke ad where there's like a song to it. And it fucking annoyed me every time, but then I was, like, singing along with it. I'm like, because it's so ridiculous that they made a song about psoriasis. That it would play every single time. And then all the other ads I get on Peacock are in Spanish. I don't know why. I don't know how I convinced my Roku to think that I speak Spanish, but most of the ads
Is the person whose account you're borrowing, like, Latin American or something?
I don't remember whose account it is, but I would say...
Oh, okay.
I don't know. But, yeah... I think that's my thing, too. This is another thing we talked about in the server last night, that, I see often whenever a movie flops, like a new animated film, let's say, that a bunch of people on Twitter will say, like, oh, this is because the company didn't market the movie enough. Like, the marketing really failed this movie. And I never understand what they mean by that. Like, oh, Elio didn't get enough marketing. But if you go to the movie theater, like, they have posters, they play trailers for Elio every time you see any Disney-adjacent movie. But I feel like and, like, I have YouTube Premium and, like, ad block on other stuff. So I feel like I don't know what commercials are playing right now. And I would hazard a guess most of the average Twitter user is the same. So when, like, people in the animation community online say, like, oh, man, the marketing for this movie, like, I haven't heard anyone talk about it. It's like, well, you don't go to the movie theater and you don't see ads anywhere else. I'm not saying you're the bad guy for having an ad block, but like, don't pretend like they didn't market this movie, because they always do. They market movies you've never even heard of. You just have to be at the theater to see the trailers.
I imagine it has to do more with the scale of the marketing campaign, like what kind of things they do.
Yeah.
I mean, and this is frankly...
Yeah, do they mean like YouTube sponsorships or like tie-ins?
Well,
or like...
I think celebrity tie-ins, you know, kind of like
when
doing
Stitch
a
was
lot
rocking
of
the
extra
red
shit.
carpet.
Yeah, I mean, I can't think of any good examples right now, but I can kind of understand the argument, because there's definitely a difference between the scale at which they'll advertise certain movies over the others, and it's a lot more than just trailers at the movie theater.
Yeah. I mean, if you go to the movie theater, they also had a fully new icy flavor called Elio's Glorp. So you could be slurping on Elio's Glorp for like a whole month. Listen, I was aware of Elio. I just thought it was kind of okay. To like mid, I guess. I feel like there's a lot of... Again, that's the other thing, is that if you go to the movies regularly... I mean, I think everyone that has access to the theater should go semi-often. And that just like everyone's got their own religion, and mine just happens to be the AMC. I have my tradition there, I have my ceremony. I go every weekend. I say the prayer that Nicole Kidman does, and I got my snacks, my ceremony. And I do think that, like, I'm not a religious person, but I do think ceremony is sort of important to, like, keeping up a routine a little bit. I mean, that's the extent of me going outside. I like to just kind of walk around. But as far as we're talking about marketing, I feel like... Well, I mean, if we're going to talk about marketing, we could talk more about the Nintendo Direct. We can say, by the way, that when me, you, and Dan were watching the end of the Direct, Dan, and I believe I agreed with him, said the exact same thing. Like, almost verbatim. We're like, oh, it's Kid Icarus, and then it wasn't, and we were like, who cares? But our good friend and friend of the show, friend of Switch 2 Ultra, Salty DK Dan, had the same thing in a clip that, and we talked about this earlier, went viral on Twitter about him being like, oh, I don't care about Fire Emblem. And people took that shit very personally. Do you have any thoughts about new Fire Emblem? You're probably more of a fan than we are.
Actually, could you hold up for a minute or two? I'm having like weird audio issues.
Sure, no worries. I'll go see. I'll go roam around the open road. I wanted to say, everyone that's watching this too, that like, it's gonna sound biased or seem biased, right? That I know that Sonic Racing Cross Worlds comes out soon. And I know I've been playing a lot of bullshit this year just because it came out on the Switch too. But I have made a rule on stream that I won't start a new game until I finish what I've already started this year. But also, all of the things about Sonic Racing Cross Worlds that seem really interesting to me seem to be paid DLC or like Season Pass DLC. So I think the enjoyment I will get from Sonic Racing Cross Worlds, I could just wait for them to release the deluxe edition in like a year or so, because I kind of don't want to buy the game and then also get like the complete edition or the DLC. Like, they're going to release a deluxe edition once all the DLC is done, and then they'll chop the price at some point, and then maybe I will play it. I think on stream I've been super caught up on like, oh, I have to play a game as soon as it comes out. Because, I mean, I've been doing my best to get through Bonanza. I've been doing 3 hours every week, and I still got spoiled, right? And I suppose part of that is my fault for not muting certain things on the internet, on Twitter specifically, when it comes to games I'm playing. That the spoiler embargo lifts very quickly. Like, they did give us, like, a good month or so before people just started unabashedly posting about Donkey Kong Bonanza. But I do like going into games unspoiled. Because of that, I prioritize playing a game when it comes out. But in actuality, like, there are games that came out the last couple of years that I could really just play later. There's really an opportunity to do it whenever. So whenever there's a game that came out in 2023, I'm like, oh man, I missed the boat. When I could just play it.
And you can, like, literally play it. You can just do things.
Yeah, you can play whatever you
want. When you want to.
I have a huge backlog, but they keep releasing games is the issue. While I'm driving around here, too, and grinding on the rail, I don't know if you have had any experience with Skate 3. But I talked about this in... Earlier, you said, like, jokingly, like, oh, to understand this video, you have to watch the entire backlog of videos. And, like, to a certain degree, I'm like, oh, you know, people want to watch the videos to understand. But also, like, I'm not embarrassed or, like, ashamed of those, like, 2021, 2022 videos. But, you know, I was 20 or 21 when I was making them. And I'm, like, I'm about to be 25. So, like, I was just becoming an adult then. And, again, not ashamed of them, but I'm definitely much better at making videos now. Like, there's, like, audio or camera issues in them that I forget. And I appreciate everyone, you know, still watching the Izzy video now that it's fully monetized. Also, the childhood trauma video, I believe, is now also fully monetized. Which is... Shout out, by the way, I don't think I said anything, like specifically, because I didn't want to, like, name drop. But I do the bit a lot where I'm like, oh, my close personal friend. But legitimately, none of this would have happened if it wasn't for Quentin Reviews. He's the one that, like, showed me how to do all of the appeals on videos, and I'm sure if I asked anyone else, it just kind of came up in conversation. Anyone could have helped me, but Quentin has been a great help with these.
I remember trying to push you, and I kind of like dipped out because I felt like I was making you uncomfortable or worried. Like,
well, I mean, it's totally fine. Like, I think it was more just like, oh, I won't get too much into it, but he basically gave me a copy and paste thing to be like, oh, this is what you say, and I'm like, okay, actually, that is helpful. That it probably wouldn't have got. I mean, it would have gotten done eventually, maybe. That like. I try not to get too hung up about it because, again, like, I'm content where I am. I think the idea of, like, living paycheck to paycheck is sort of mythologized as being awful. Like, oh, man, you're broke if you're living paycheck to paycheck. But, like, you know, I don't think there's anything wrong with just making the amount a month I need while doing what I love. I'd rather be broke doing YouTube. I wouldn't even say I'm broke. I'd rather be uncomfortable doing YouTube than comfortable doing something I don't want to do, right? I am paying with my wallet to do something I really have always wanted to do. There was a point I was gonna... Okay, anyway, that people still watch the Izzy video. Like, that is the video that people are still discovering for the first time currently in September 2025. I still get comments on that video about people being like, oh, I finally decided to watch the video. I like this video. That... For them, it hasn't been a long time, right? If you're looking at the years that we've been alive, then sure, 2022 wasn't that long ago. But for me, that was an entirely different chapter of my life, and I was an entirely different person. So I forget sometimes that people are meeting me as I am now for the first time in a screenshot of the person I used to be. And that's something, like, it's weird to come to terms with, that, like, oh yeah, people are learning my name and my face or whatever in a video that I made when I lived in a different state and I had just moved out from my parents' place. Like, I was just finding myself... I was a freshly new adult. Like, the older I get, the more I'm like, yeah, 18 still a kid, 19 still a kid. I'm 38 still young. Stuff like that. That, like, But, however, the Xbox video or the Xbox One video series I made that same year, even before the Izzy video, and that one has a lot of, like, audio and visual issues, has sort of, like, framed a lot of stories and videos later down the line. Like, I've been playing Grand Theft Auto Online on stream every Wednesday leading up to the new game, and so much of that story is carried over from the story I told in the Xbox video. And in a way, the Smash Bros. Hype cycle is a companion piece to those Xbox videos, because I'm talking about my time with the Nintendo Switch. All that to say that a lot of my love and reverence and everything that, like, Skate 3 as a game means to me, I talked about in that Xbox video. About how I would watch, like, YouTubers play it back in the day, and then I got Skate 3 for the original Xbox 360, and I would go over to my friend's house and bring the disc, and then we would plug it into theirs, and we would all, like, take turns on it. I do like online gaming. I think it's magical that we're able to roam around a world like this together, and we're entirely different states, and that we could have conversations like this. However, I do think there is a simple pleasure in sharing a single-player game with friends and, like, passing the controller in a circle. Being like, oh, I died. Okay, your turn. We'll go until each person dies. Even, like, GTA 5, when I got that game, one of my friends when I was a kid in one of the 6 households, I didn't have a 360 that had enough storage to play GTA 5, and my friend could play it but wasn't allowed to have it and couldn't buy the game. So we would share the game, and after school I would put the game in my backpack and keep it all day. And then after school I would go over to his house and sneak it into his basement. And then we knew that each of us could only play GTA 5 when we were together. So we would, like, take turns. You're going to get red shell. Every time he died, he would trade off to me. Every time I died, I would trade off to him. And he would genuinely try and do the missions, and I would just kind of fuck around in the open world. And if we're going to talk about Skate and also GTA, and then in the context of talking about Mario Kart World, I think there is a discussion to be had about what does and doesn't make a fun open world. I think that there are a lot of little secrets in this game that are fun to find, but I know it's a Mario Kart game, and I know you could do the little, like, bump up in the air, but I think a giant map like this, where there's so many secrets hidden about it, like a wide open world where you can't jump, really sort of kneecaps the exploration, at least for me. I just really like platformers. Because in a game like I've been playing, my point is I have a lot of nostalgia for Skate 3. And the Skate Open Beta is the first new Skate game since Skate 3. And it is a free-to-play EA game with microtransactions and whatever.
Oh,
but I'm still like, it's still free-to-play, and you can get all the fun out of it. But you're floating in the air. Have all the fun out of it just by getting it free, and I encourage everyone that can play it to play it. You don't have to spend any money on it. Just, you know, get the open beta and play it. Even if you don't like Skate, give it a shot, because I've been having so much fun with that game. It's the first game in a while that I don't have the incentive to, like... I'm very into the idea of archiving things, of being able to go back to a specific time. And that's why I stream and make videos and make TikToks and tweet. So that way I can, like, oh, what was I doing September 22nd, 2025? And know exactly what I was saying or seeing or playing. That was the purpose of the tier list. And because of that, whenever there's a new game, I want to play it so I could be like, oh, I was playing it at the time. But there have been certain games, like last year when we started getting back into GTA Online, which is honestly not a fun game if you're not playing with friends. And the recent Castle Crashers update where you can put your own custom skin in it, and even like last week we played Terraria for some reason. That was another video that was featured in the Xbox video where I talked about the series of games I played with friends, which was featuring Skate 3 and GTA and Terraria and Minecraft, so on and so forth, Castle Crashers. That these are games that I'm like playing every week, but it's not documented, and I feel like if I don't bring it up enough, then it's going to be quote-unquote lost or whatever. That I want people to know that I have been religiously playing the Skate Open Beta, that I've been archiving it more in clips. I'm like, oh, that was a cool moment, I want to record this. I haven't played it the last couple days because it's coming to the end of the month and I want to make sure these videos are done. But I've been having a lot of fun with it. And just to compare that game to this game, that it has the same tricks, that I would argue the EA Skate Open Beta has more freedom than Mario Kart World, because you could still platform, you could do a lot of ridiculous stuff. This isn't an ad. I think everyone should play the Skate Open Beta. I've had a lot of fun with it, and it is free. And there was a purpose. I think the purpose was just to talk about the Xbox video. But as far as the Direct goes, I guess, yeah, I asked you if you felt anything about Fire Emblem, and then you had the audio issues. Do you have any more opinions on that?
Not particularly. I mean, to be fair, I haven't paid much attention to it. It just looks like a new Fire Emblem.
Yeah.
I'm curious what the connections are to Fire Emblem Three Houses.
It seems like a direct sequel, right?
I mean, Sothis seems to be back, but I mean, once again, I'm not sure. It might be. I think I've heard someone say it's a prequel or something, but that, I mean, also, I'm not sure how that would be the case. But
yeah, it's
definitely connected. To be honest, though, I'm kind of over Fire Emblem games being connected to each other.
Interesting.
I don't know. I mean, I never played Engage. I might actually just play it, just because keep
That's
in
the
touch.
newest one.
That's the one that it came out more earlier than I thought. It came out good 3 years ago almost.
Okay.
Came out early 2023, but I didn't want to play it just because there were things about it that just kind of looked a little dingy, I guess. The reception was kind of tepid, it seems. But I mean, it might still be worth playing. This one, I mean, it does look a little bit more, doesn't seem to have like some of the annoying things about the art direction that Engage had, which makes me happy, but I don't know, I guess honestly I haven't been paying that much attention to new Fire Emblems, despite the fact that I've, been playing a good amount of old ones.
Yeah. This might be the first one that, like, I actually try, because, I mean, my thing has been, I've been leading up to the Switch 2 launch for so long, and I did have fun on the launch. That launch day, I think we all as a community sort of hype up a launch as being, and not that it wasn't exciting, because it was exciting to first get our hands on Mario Kart World, but a launch is a launch. Like, the launch year is never going to be the best year of a console. The Switch started out really strong, but I want to make a habit out of playing the Switch 2 exclusives, even if they're games I might not really like, just so I have an understanding of the console. And I know as the years go along, there's going to be more and more exclusives, and I want to keep track of that the best I can. Earlier I said, or I sort of equated the Tears of the Kingdom Switch 2 edition to the Kirby Switch 2 edition, and talking about Pokemon and Donkey Kong DLC. I want to say that from what I've played of the Kirby DLC, or the Kirby Switch 2 edition, that's like an additional 10, 20 bucks. I think that is worth it. I think it's added enough and it's been long enough that I don't view it as like a waste. Would you, I want to ask you this, if the Donkey Kong Bonanza DLC released like 3 months later, do you think it'd be received better, or do you think it is the DLC inherently that people don't like?
I think it's the DLC inherently, because
Okay.
I think it would have still gotten if the island itself had had bananas and collectibles in it. I think the reception would have been still, there would have been some negative elements to it, but it still probably would have been pretty tepid.
Yeah.
Just because like
Well, I guess the idea
No, I
is
mean,
that, like, that way you're not missing out on bananas, and you're not, like... If you don't get the DLC, someone can't say, like, oh, you haven't actually completed the game because you haven't bought the DLC, even though that's what Pokemon does. And Pokemon announced
Maybe,
their DLC
but,
for
like...
ZA before the game was even released. So I have a little bit more
I mean, it's
sympathy... Not sympathy, but I have a little bit more... I guess apathy towards the Donkey Kong DLC. I don't know if I particularly want to play it. Maybe I will. Just because... it at least came out like a month or so, or no, like multiple months after the game's initial release. That I like to believe it wasn't just held back for that DLC.
Yeah, I mean, I honestly couldn't tell you. I mean, the island itself, for me, the problem is just the fact that there's nothing to do in it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I want to pay money for that, and I don't know, it's just disappointing because, you know, I love this collectathon game, but it's not like you really can do much in the DLC itself.
Yeah.
And I mean, yeah, there's the new mode, but I don't know. I would love to be able to kind of explore, you know,
Roam
DK
around the open
Island
road.
and get some bananas in it. I mean, one of my favorite kingdoms in Mario Odyssey is Princess Peach's castle, or like the Mushroom Kingdom. So I don't know. It just seems like a bit of a, you know, disappointment. I think honestly the reception would be worse if it came a few months later from now, because I'm not mad about like potentially this being withheld and resold as DLC. I'm more mad that it's just not that much to charge 20 bucks for, you know?
Yeah. I think it's just in general that, like, I don't think that the quality of a lot of these games are really the issue people have. It's more of like, the Mario Kart World isn't bad, but is it worth $80? The Donkey Kong DLC isn't bad, is it worth $20? These Switch 2 editions aren't bad, other than the Jamboree one. Is it worth the additional $20? And I think that's just... I don't know, like, I guess they could charge less for a digital edition, but I guess the argument is that, like, how much of it is blamed on tariffs, because that's been the case with the Amiibo. But I also just think it's the industry in general. Games getting more and more expensive.
Yeah, I mean, right now we're also, you know, having discourse about the new Mario Tennis game being $70.
Okay.
And I'm pretty damn sure that there have been uses of $70 I've made in my life a lot better than the newest Mario Tennis game. I mean,
I think they
and I
just
see
view
Mario-
anything Mario as, like, top billing.
Well,
I think-
frankly, I think the standard is going to be $70. I mean, they said that they're willing to kind of like scale prices, but I don't believe it.
I would say anything that...
considered.
I think it's safe to say whatever games come out for the Switch 1 are 60, and then their Switch 2 edition will be 70 or 80. And then games that are exclusive to the Switch 2 will probably all be 70. And I think we talked about this after the Direct in, like, obscure Nintendo series or ones that are on the back burner, like your F-Zero and Star Fox or Chibi Robo. Those series do have a chance at a second life if Nintendo just, like, made a cheap game, not cheap, but, like, a more
smaller scale game,
more budgetary restrictive game using, like, a smaller development team and charge the game like $20 or $30 on the eShop. I think the game would sell well. But Nintendo would never do that. Like, they would... I
Yeah.
think the reason they haven't made, like, a new F-Zero or a new Star Fox is because they're not willing to make it, like, $40. Like, they would view it as 70, and they know that it wouldn't sell well.
Yeah. And, you know, it just, as a consumer, like, why would I want to buy... Well, I mean, first of all, I mean, I'm not much. I didn't get Mario Tennis Aces in the first place, but
Right.
like the idea of a $70 Mario Kart, like if I want to have a fun time with friends, like, you know, you have to think. I
It's
mean,
an
I can get a
$80
good
Mario Kart.
I can probably get a good ass friend swap game
True.
on Steam for like $2.
Lego
You know what
Friends.
I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just I don't know. Nowadays, like the premise of like $70 for a mildly fun multiplayer game, it's like, yeah, no thanks.
Yeah, I think this is just a greater, like, I don't want to say, like, oh, societal issue, but I feel like a lot of industries are ballooning, and, I mean, if we really want to get into the discussion of it all, like, everything is too expensive right now, and I think that I don't want to let Nintendo off the hook, because, like, you know, if they wanted to make them cheaper, they easily could, but I do think it's just emblematic of things are going to be bad for a while.
Yeah.
But there are a lot of anti-consumer decisions they're making. Well, talking about Mario Tennis, what's the new one called? Fever? Or is that the Rhythm Heaven game? I think Mario
it is. Oh wait, I think it
Mario
is Fever,
Tennis
actually.
Fever? Yeah. That I say this in an upcoming video, that there are, it happens like clockwork. Every time there's like a new golf or tennis game, and then everyone's like, oh, dude, this is the best golf or tennis game. Or whenever there's a Mario game, it's like, oh, this is the best Mario Golf or Mario Tennis. I see this, and I saw it on Twitter, and I was trying to phrase it in a way that didn't sound mean or reductive. Because I wanted to start it by saying genuine question. But whenever people say genuine question, they're not genuinely asking a question, they're just being dickheads. But I saw people, or a person maybe, talking about how perfect and good, like, the Mario Tennis and Mario Golf games for the GameCube were. And from an outsider's perspective, like, those are not games I grew up with. I wanted to know, what is it specifically about the GameCube ones that people view as way better than anything that's come before it or after it? Because to me...
It came out when I was 8.
Yeah, to me, like, I don't care what you do for... I can play as King Bob-omb while playing golf, or I can swing my Wiimote while playing tennis with my Miis. At the end of the day, it's still golf and tennis. There's only so much you can do there. So I think that there is, like we said, like, oh, even a bad Mario Kart game is still fun because it's Mario Kart. Even the best Mario Tennis game, it's still a tennis video game. Like, there's only so much you can do within the game of tennis. However, Mario Tennis Aces, we brought it up earlier because of the idea, the model of slowly dripping out characters for a game after release. And Mario Tennis Aces released a ton of characters. And I kind of hoped at the time that they would do this with Smash Bros. That they would release a new character, but to unlock them, you had to participate in an online tournament. And the farther you got in the tournament, you unlocked more alternate skins. But just signing up for the tournament would get you the character. I think the character just unlocks in your game, regardless of if you have online or not. I guess you need online to update your game. But my point still stands. That it sounds like, from what I've heard, that Mario Tennis Fever has the same amount of characters at launch that Mario Tennis Aces had after its final update. So it seems like that it's like the Smash Ultimate of tennis, I guess. That the big thing is that, like, oh, we have all 60 of these characters. I hope that it keeps all the characters from Tennis Aces, because one of those characters was Cappy, and I think that is the only spin-off material where Cappy has any, like, actual physical appearance outside of a taunt for Mario. That might... I believe that's true.
There's a taunt in Smash Bros, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, but other than that, like... It used to be there would be a new Mario, like there's a Mario Sunshine, a Mario Galaxy, and the characters from it, or their stages or locations, show up
They
in...
chilled the Sunshine games. It was crazy.
Yeah, and the same thing happened with Galaxy, to be honest. Like, the characters show up in Smash Bros., in Mario Kart, in Mario Tennis, in Mario Golf, so on and so forth. And maybe that's what... I think it's been too long. That going into this game, Mario Kart World, I was like, oh, I hope there's a bunch of references to Odyssey, since that was the previous console generation's Mario game. Like, all the spin-offs on the Wii had Petey Piranha in them because Sunshine was the newest mainline Mario game. A bunch of spin-offs for the Wii U had Lumas and Rosalina and the Tanuki Leaf again because that was the previous generation's big Mario game. And I know it's been almost a decade since Odyssey came out, or like I guess like a decade and a half, that it's been a long time to start referencing that game, and it seems more and more in spin-off material that they're actually referencing the Talking Wonder Flower, or is that what it's called? The Talking Flower.
I think they're called Wonder Flowers.
The Talking Flower is the referee in the new Mario Tennis game, so it seems like that is the Mario game they're going to reference.
I thought that was
more.
cute.
That Mario's up B as well. I guess. Like, I mean, his eyes show up.
Oh, yeah, the eyes show up. You're right.
I love Smash Ultimate, and I love the hype leading up to it, and I love all the DLC characters. But that game, you could definitely tell... I don't want to say it was rushed, but it was... They definitely had a shorter amount of time to get everything in that they wanted to. Like, very clearly, Home Run Contest and Stage Builder and Piranha Plant were meant to be base game. But that's another argument that, like, I mean, I'm never gonna get bored of Smash Bros. I'm gonna play it like every chance I get with friends, online or in real life. But having an update like every couple months where you add a new mode, like, oh, you add Home Run Contest, or you add Small Battlefield, or you add Stage Builder, or like a Replay Creator, or like anything like that. Those are things that should have been in base game, but I'm not gonna say that it's anti-consumer because these are free updates and it sort of bolsters the game and incentivizes people who stopped playing the game to come back to it, which, circling back our entire podcast, makes it even more strange that there are no current updates for Mario Kart World. I think above all else, when it comes to the Direct, I think the only thing we learned, editor, if you want to show the image on screen, is that there was when we were shown the demo of Kirby Air Riders using the amiibo, the little stop and swap amiibo, there's a tab on the bottom left that says fashion, I think. And we said earlier when we were analyzing the Air Riders Direct that we have alternate skins, but there was also a little hat tab that we didn't see. So it's possible that not only will the characters have alternate skins, but you could also dress them up however you see fit. I think that's the only thing we learned about any game beyond the Direct itself. But now we know what the lineup is going to be. I mean, I think the disappointment from the Direct, since the dust has settled, my overall opinion is that all of the cool and interesting stuff that we got in that Direct were about games we already knew about. That doesn't make them bad announcements. It just meant that there was no new game in that Direct that I'm like, oh shit, new game, this is hype. Other than maybe that Pokemon Ditto game. I think that's fun conceptually. But all the cool things we learned or saw were about Donkey Kong, or Pokemon, or Metroid, or Tomodachi Life. And I'm excited for those games, but I was already excited for those games. So yeah. I think that's my opinion of the Direct, is that it didn't show us anything as far as a new game goes. Like, I'm gonna play Yoshi, I'm gonna play Mario Tennis, I'm gonna play whatever else they release. But as far as excitement goes, the next release is ZA. I will say, I've really turned around on ZA. I think we could probably, now that it's been a long time between Switch 2 Ultra episodes, because we had one on Saturday instead of Friday following the Direct, that we probably aren't going to get any more Mega Evolution shown off before the release of Pokemon Legends ZA. Because after now, once this podcast ends, we have 3 more episodes of Switch 2 Ultra before Legends ZA comes out. And then afterwards, we could talk about our time with Legends ZA the Monday following it. At least, like, the opening hours of it. And then I think there's let me look at my calendar, actually, because we're coming up to it. There will be a 2-week gap, and then Hyrule Warriors, Age of Imprisonment, I forgot the subtitle, comes out. And then a week gap, and then Kirby Air Riders, and then a week gap, and then Metroid Prime Beyond. I had to zoom in to look at the subtitles. So it will be like every other week after ZA comes out, with maybe one additional gap in between. So right now, the 3-week gap is the longest gap we have between games, or I guess the longest gap we have until a game. So we thought it was best suited to roam around the open road before, I guess, if people are hyping up Sonic the way it sounds, Mario Kart World will die forever, and nobody will ever play it again, and it'll never come back. So you don't think they're going to update the game at all? You think it just is as it is?
I mean, I could be wrong. I guess what I'll say is I'm just surprised it hasn't happened yet. But I don't know. I mean, maybe they'll announce it really late. But I don't know. It seems a little, maybe dire is. I guess, you know, there's nothing that's theoretically stopping them from updating it. But I don't know. It just, based on their past patterns, I guess I'm just surprised they haven't done it yet. But
yeah. We got the previous decade of Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. That you're right, not only did Mario Kart 8 get DLC on Wii U, but then also the Deluxe version added a bunch of modes and characters. And then we got DLC for that game as well, the Deluxe version in and of itself. That, I think that a Skeleton Crew being in charge of DLC for a game isn't even unheard of. I would like, although it might be a little I wouldn't even say it's anti-consumer, but it'll hurt your wallet. I would hope that the new Mario Kart game and even a potential new Smash Bros. Game, I hope they don't just do like a year or two of DLC or support. I hope they release stuff throughout the console generation, which is...
yeah.
Like, on average, only, like, 7 years. I mean, 7 years is a long time. Like, the Switch's release there was an entirely different era in my life. And I can't imagine what will be happening to me or you or us or this show in 7 years.
Yeah.
I guess the show ends when the Switch 2 releases its final game. But I'm trying to meet up with you so we could do a little outro next to each other. You're all over this open world.
Yeah.
I'm coming to you. That I wouldn't mind... I mean, I'll probably delve into it more if I talk about the potential, like, a Smash game that I want to see. That, in the age of live service, free-to-start games that slowly roll out content like your Fortnite and your Marvel Rivals, I don't think we're ever going to get a free-to-play Smash Bros., but I don't think it's impossible that we have a base Smash Bros. Game of less than Ultimate's characters, and then they slowly, over time, release DLC to add all the characters back, but they're new and upgraded, right? Because people have been talking about a Smash reboot. I don't think we need a full reboot, but I do think starting from scratch and focusing on new stuff rather than returning stuff would be a good base game. And then, like they did with Smash 4, where they released Lucas and Roy and Mewtwo as DLC, that they just... you know, add back the most beloved characters over time in DLC. And that way, we always have a new character, like there's a new character for Smash every month or every other month. And everyone has an excuse to keep playing it, and everyone can get really into that character. Because I think the DLC releases were fun. I don't think they need hype trailers for all of... I don't think we need, like, a big CG reveal trailer for Young Link or Duck Hunt. Even though we did get one for Duck Hunt, but that was when he was a new character. But... I think there are a lot of characters that I don't really play or particularly care about. Like, if all the DLC characters came out with base game, would I have spent a month playing Joker, or a month playing Hero, or a month playing Min Min? Probably not, because those are characters I don't really care that much about. But because that was the new character, they were fun to play. So I really like the idea of that, of releasing a Smash game with a smaller roster, focusing on new characters, and having that game be out for like 4 or 5 months, 6, 7 months, and then the entire lifetime of the Switch 2 just release more characters throughout it. And I know that people will complain about that and be like, oh man, they're just drip feeding us these characters again. But I like the idea of a game being supported throughout the entire console generation. And that's what I was hoping for Mario Kart World, is that they would just roll out free character updates with every major, not even Nintendo game, but just every major Mario game. Like, oh, there's a new Donkey Kong game, there's a new Yoshi game, there's a new tennis game. Let's add characters or costumes to this game. Granted, I haven't even seen everything there is to do. Maybe I should come back to this game. Maybe I should dedicate a stream. I think I'm not the right person to ask when it comes to, like, engaging with art or consuming games, because I only really play these games on stream or in the server nowadays. That it's really difficult for me to get a read on... I mean, I'm out of touch, simply, about how the average consumer would react. Because, like, the Switch launch was fun. And I had no issue buying the Switch 2 and buying Mario Kart World because I got to have an entire stream series out of it. I just wish I had more free time to stream more, but I've done all I could, and I think that's all we have to say, at least for the foreseeable future, about Mario Kart World. I don't know if we'll do this for any other game, but I do like the idea of like, oh, Mario Kart World's been out for a couple months now, and this is like the, where's that guy going? This is the major Nintendo like launch title, and now people are moving on. We know that there aren't any updates. There is another Scrimblow Bimblow Racer coming out in a couple days, and I've been way more into exploring Skate Open Beta than I have Mario Kart World, and I've also been more engaged with playing Donkey Kong. I've played Donkey Kong way longer than any other game I played this year, and that's probably my game of the year, even though I really, really love the Skate Open Beta. That I think maybe my hype for Mario Kart was overblown. Like, I feel like every time I get a new Mario Kart on a new console, it's just exciting to have a new console, and then I play the game for like a couple months, and then I stop playing it outside of like when friends come over. And I know I said I was going to end, but one final thing, like, when it comes to tennis and party and golf games in the context of Mario, I think people who are saying, like, oh, this game was more fun when I was a kid, are actually remembering playing it with friends. And I said earlier with GTA Online, there are some games that are simply not fun to play by yourself. And I think Mario Golf
Absolutely.
and Mario Tennis, and even Mario Party to a certain extent, are some of those games. Those are games that you only play when friends come over and you want to play a game. Like, I've seen negative reviews about this and even Drag X Drive, but let me tell you, like, gathering people around a TV to play Mario Kart or Drag X Drive, that's still really fun. I think that a lot of discourse is just very online-centric. Do you have any closing remarks about, I mean, anything we've discussed, but specifically Mario Kart
I think you're
Worlds?
100% right about, you know, the fact that, I mean, why... I mean, once I've done all the Grand Prix and stuff, I mean, I don't really see much of a reason to keep coming back to Mario Kart World every single day, unless I have some sort of like extreme vested interest in I want to get as good at this game as possible, and I want to like try and get the best time trials possible and stuff like that. But people very rarely dedicate themselves to games like that. Usually it's like a very few people dedicate themselves to a game like that in the first place, and it's usually just a couple of games just because of, you know, the nature of time. Regarding the idea you have for Smash Bros, I mean, I wouldn't be totally against it. Like, I wouldn't be too bothered by that. I guess I would say though that that does seem a little bit outside of Nintendo's MO. They haven't really done They haven't done something like that for a game really at all. Even Mario Tennis Aces didn't do like the consistent characters for that long.
My retort is that Smash Bros, and likely whatever next Smash Bros they make, is only partially being made by Nintendo. Like, it's a Nintendo game on a Nintendo console exclusively, starring Nintendo characters, but the crew will predominantly be made up of Bandai Namco developers, as was Smash 4 and as was Smash Ultimate. And we know even before the Switch 2 came out that Bandai Namco itself made a subsidiary titled Studio S Studio 2 that now we know is predominantly there to create Nintendo Switch 2 games. And instead of comparing a new Smash Bros, a hypothetical new Smash Bros, to any other Nintendo game, I'm comparing it to Tekken, or comparing it to Soul Calibur, or comparing it to Dragon Ball FighterZ. I think that overall it is a Nintendo game, a Nintendo product, and they get final say, but I don't think it's beyond a company like Bandai Namco to have a rollout of characters like that. And I think it's not something Nintendo's done historically in the past, but if they want to learn from the most popular games, even the ones that are on their services, on their hardware, stuff like Fortnite or recent successes like Marvel Rivals, that, granted, those are free to start games or free to play games just in general.
Yeah, I mean that's definitely, I think that's a thorn in the side. I mean that would.
But I wouldn't put it past Nintendo for selling a $70 Smash Bros. And then also, like, later down the line, like, $40 Season Pass. That sounds like something they do.
Mm.
But yeah, I can understand why consumers will be mad, but that is my view. I think what I'm getting at is I want to please both parties, because half of the people want everyone to return, and half of the people want major redesigns for a lot of the older or oldest Smash characters and a lot of newcomers. And I don't think logistically you can please both. I don't think you can bring back all 80 characters and have them all have new-ish movesets in the allotted time they have. So my compromise is that they release the base game and focus on new stuff and redesigns for these older characters. And then people won't be they'll still be upset. Everyone's always upset about something. But you can please the people who really like Rob or Corrin or Lucario and Diddy Kong and add those characters back through DLC, which also gives the team at least a month to develop or redevelop those new characters. I'm saying this in the context of all of it being preemptive. I know we really dislike the idea of DLC being planned ahead of time, but I think you need a backlog of characters if you're able to do it monthly consistently. And maybe it won't be monthly, but if the main roster is like 40 and you need to add 40 characters back, and it's going to take us through 7 years, then you need to do them pretty consistently. And I think that is realistically the most realistic way to please both people who want every character to return. Because I'll say vehemently, I really do not want an Ultimate Deluxe. If I want to play Smash Ultimate on the Switch 2, I could just play Smash Ultimate on the Switch 2. I think this is a unique opportunity to do a lot of new stuff, and also I know that people are really upset about the way the online was set up, and I do think you could implement rollback netcode. I'm saying this in a very simplistic manner. But I also think that there's a lot of work to be done on the single-player aspects of Smash Bros.
Yeah. I would love another Subspace Emissary.
I don't see any reason to buy the characters when you can already play them for free in Ultimate. Yeah, exactly. You don't have to buy the characters. I will. Well, no, the difference is, I would say that the DLC characters, like, let's say base game that doesn't have Diddy Kong, but Donkey Kong looks like Bonanza Donkey Kong, and he grabs stuff from the ground, and you don't destroy the stage, but he has a lot more abilities from Bonanza. Right? He's basically a fully new character. And then they're like, oh, first DLC character is Diddy Kong or King K. Rool. We're adding them back to the game. That character won't control or play exactly like they did in Ultimate. They're not just adding that character back. They're adding the character, but the DLC character also has a new moveset. Granted, Diddy Kong hasn't changed that much between, I don't know what games came out between Ultimate or Smash 4 or even Brawl and the Switch 2 that Diddy Kong was like a main character. You can't change a lot about Diddy Kong. The argument is there that like, oh, this character exists on Ultimate, I'll just play Ultimate. And I agree, but that's why I think they should change a lot of these characters. Whenever I say that like, oh, Samus and Peach and Bowser and Donkey Kong and Luigi and Mario and Link and Ganondorf and Zelda are so different in their newer outings on the Switch and the Switch 2, that their movesets need to be changed a lot for a new Smash Bros. And the pushback on that is like, oh, but Smash fans are going to get mad that they changed their moveset too much. And I don't think that's inherently true. I think people will play the new Smash game regardless. But if someone really likes the way Ganondorf controls, if someone really likes Captain Falcon Ganondorf, then they can play it on the Switch too. Like, they could just play Ultimate. And that's why I think you really need to lean into redesigning these characters. And not mechanically, but overall redesigning the game. Because if the game is exactly like Ultimate, then why wouldn't you just play Ultimate? That is my thesis, I suppose. That is the extent I have to say about that. Do you have any more closing remarks before we say goodbye to the open road? Well, this was a successful podcast. We've wanted to have an episode live from Mario Kart World for a long time, because it is one of those games that you just load up and you don't really have an objective as much as... I mean, Sonic can say whatever he wants. It is kind of fun to roam around the open road. Or not fun as much as it is chill and relaxing.
Just roaming around at the speed of the sound.
At my own speed. At my own sound. But wait, get back in this frame. We got to do our outro.
Okay. Come back.
You just disappeared, right? Oh, okay. I have been your co-parent, BH Ultra.
And I have been your co-parent, Switchy.
And I am going to hang up the phone, and I kind of want to play this game more, but I gotta do it on stream. We shall see. Next time we tune back in, who knows where we will be.
All right.
Later. Guys, who was that guy? You guys ever heard this song?